In today's news, a man stabbed just yesterday within the territory, and Caribbean Airlines sees a 73% drop in revenue for 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
As well as the inter-primary school sports is kicking off, as well as we're gonna take a look at what is really happening over in Texas. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
Gentlemen, inspiring gentlemen and our partners that hold us down. It's season 2 of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, taking you on the most inspiring journey with the best and brightest distinguished gentlemen of the BVI. Raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men like you've never seen them before. Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert, Jovan Klein, Neil Klein, and so much more. Turning modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen with yours truly, Ron Grant, a 284 Media production.
Welcome there, viewers. Today is Wednesday, February 17th, 2021. I am Kyla Kenisha Forbes.
And my name is Javon Wilson. We are so happy to be joining you once again. And of course, for you, our valued viewers who really take the time to join us at 6 p.m. Monday through Fridays for your daily dose of local, regional, and international content right here on 284 News. Now, some tragic news just yesterday. A man is now nursing a stab wound at the Dr. D. Orlando Smith Hospital. While not a lot of information is available, the police said, and I quote, a stabbed person was reported by the Department of Health Services. He came into the ER with a stab wound just close to 9 p.m. on Monday night. Of course, investigations are continuing, but based on what we're hearing, Kyla, it was a gaping wound. However, the hospital has said that he is in a stable condition. Now, as it relates to the incident, the tragic incident that occurred just over there in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a plane crash, a helicopter crash, that has taken the lives of 4 persons. Now, we see the tributes continuing to pour in for the 4 persons who would have lost their lives in St. Thomas following this crash. The late pilot Maria Rodriguez was a dear friend to Anegada viewers. Now, speaking on this was the 9th District Representative Honorable Vincent Whitley, who said, and I quote, "This wasn't an Anegadian by birth or privilege, but she was an Anegadian by heart. She was a great friend to the BVI and a tremendous friend to the people of Anegada. She really, really loved Anegada and took care of Anegada the best way she could. And I really want to bring condolences to her family, for them to know that we as a government really appreciate all that she has done for the people of Anegada, particularly after the hurricanes, where she really went above and beyond the call of duty, making sure the people of Anegada and Virgin Gorda got evacuated and brought in medical supplies and also brought in supplies in general. Of course, just to make sure that the people were taken care of. She is the epitome of what we expect persons who choose to live among us to be. And for that, I will say, may her soul rest in eternal peace. I know she will be dearly, dearly missed. And Kyla, that is such a touching tribute by our Minister of Labor and Communications, of course, but I think really a common sentiment because not only was Ms. Rodriguez well known, but also she was well loved here in these Virgin Islands. So our hearts and prayers goes out to everyone who is suffering as a result of these losses. Of course,
and we'll be touching on that story a bit more as the U.S. Virgin Islands community really pours out condolences to the family. Now, the family has been named that was aboard that helicopter. So we're going to dive into that story a bit more later down in our newscast.
All right, viewers, we're going to head straight into it. Now, the territory will focus on defining the vision of the territory's greatest visionary leader, no other than the late Honorable Hamilton Lavity Stoutt, for the 26th Memorial Celebration. Now, Director of Culture, Dr. Catherine Smith said, and I quote, "Through the constitutional advances of 1950 and 1967, the territory was able to progress with greater self-determination. In 1967, we were able to have, for the first time, a chief minister who who was also the Minister for Education, the late Honorable H. Lavity Stoutt. Now, with these accomplishments, we were able to truly establish a trajectory for development. Examining the broader legacy of H. Lavity Stoutt, especially as it relates to the empowerment of his people, indeed allows us to appreciate the importance of charting our own destiny. End of quote. Now, viewers, this year's celebration is being held under the theme Defining the Vision, Empowering My People. And of course, this will be held as it usually is at the Capone's Bay Field. That's on Monday, March 1st at 10 a.m. Immediately after the laying of the wreath at 9:30 a.m., we will head to the Capone's Bay burial grounds. Now, the H. Lavity Stoutt served in many capacities during his time. His favorite quote was said to be, "Where there is no vision, the people will perish." It is his vision for the people of the Virgin Islands that the territory's first tertiary institute, the H. Lavity Stoutt Community College, was founded, as well as other major capital developments that are still beneficial to residents today. Now, during this year's celebration, the committee will be sharing information on his vision and efforts for developing the human resources of the Virgin Islands through education. H. Lavity Stoutt Memorial Celebration is a traditional event hosted by the government of the Virgin Islands in collaboration with the H. Lavity Stoutt Commemorative Committee. Now, the government of the Virgin Islands, through the Department of Culture, celebrates the life of the late Honorable H. Lavity Stoutt as a person of historic significance to the territory every year on Monday, the first Monday in March. The day is declared as a public holiday in celebration of the anniversary of the birthday of the territory's first chief minister. The H. Lavity Stoutt was born on March 2nd, 1929 and died on May 4th, 1995. Now, Kyla, one of the things we hear our leaders always reflecting on is the vision of H. Lavity Stoutt. One of the visionaries really behind this territory and its development. Just recently, we saw at the ceremony for the induction of Dr. Richard Georges as the president of HLSCC, we heard the Minister for Education really referencing to the fact that Martin Luther King had a dream, but H. Lavity Stoutt had a vision, and that vision was realized when we were able to essentially make a president out of one of the alumni of the H. Lavity Stoutt Community College. And that is the vision that he had for education in the BVI. Another excellent way he is remembered is by the term, the word really, auspicious. And we do hear the premier and all the other officials really reflecting on him candidly as often as possible because of his contributions and how he was able to mold the BVI community.
I think every time this holiday comes around, I think it's really important for the residents of the BVI to really look back and really lament on the contributions of H. Lavity Stoutt. Of course, during his time with the vision that he had, the people of the Virgin Islands called him crazy for thinking that the BVI, with such a small population, needed a tertiary education institution, but he forged forward. And because of him, as you mentioned, now the president of that institution was an alumni of that institution, a man of true vision, and we continue to benefit from his contributions. And
we definitely look forward to the auspicious occasion on March 1st as well. And of course, another great opportunity for persons to really come out in their territorial wear and celebrate.
Of course. Now, viewers, the Inter-Primary School Championship 2021 will be held on March 12th of 2021, and it kicks off at 9:30 a.m. sharp. Now, this event will be held on the A.O. Shirley grounds right here in Tortola. Now, the Inter-Primary School Championship will take another format, so to say, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in an interview, a government information officer, Miss Nikita Turnbull, and a youth officer responsible for sports, Mr. Yusuf Freeman, which we know as Boss, hear what they had to say about this upcoming event.
Welcome to this GIS report. I'm Information Officer Nikita Turnbull, and today we're speaking about sports. In particular, we will go into the details of the upcoming Sports Day. Now, here to speak to me about the inter-primary school sports day is the youth officer responsible for sports, Mr. Eustace Freeman. Hi, Mr. Freeman. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Now, tell us a bit about what's planned for this year's Sports Day.
Okay, this year we have a very exciting sport. We all know what is happening as it relates to the pandemic. So we had to make a few adjustments to our championship. Last year it was 2 days, semifinals and finals. This time around we'll be having it on 1 day. And we're ensuring that we have less athletes out on the field for that one particular day. So it's a championship where each school will bring their best athlete from each category, which will be 8 athletes, 4 boys, 4 girls, competing head-to-head, semifinals in the morning and finals in the afternoon.
Okay, so it used to be 2 days and now it's going to be 1 day, and you mentioned that it is now 8 athletes from each school, or 8?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the numbers before? How many athletes would you normally have from each school?
Normally we have about 40 athletes from each school competing, but because of the restraints and ensuring that everyone stays safe and following the different COVID protocols, we have minimized that number as much as we can and narrowing it down to just a championship where you will have the best athletes from every category within every school only competing.
Now, in that voice note, viewers, Mr. Freeman explained that the sports event will be a bit consolidated this year, now taking place with within 1 day instead of 2 days, which we are usually accustomed to. But Javon, parents have reached out to our newsroom about the upcoming event, and parents are a bit concerned as it pertains to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, one parent asked out of concern. Now, schools, and I quote, "Schools are still on shifts because of the social distancing protocols, yet we can allow our students on a field and supporters in numbers." End quote. Knowing parents' concerns, now Mr. Freeman addressed parents' their possible concerns surrounding COVID-19 and some of the procedures and protocols that will be in place on that day. Now, viewers, especially parents, hear what he had to say.
Now, parents may be still concerned that children may not be as safe on the field, or what are the health protocols that you will be putting in place as far as students will have to touch the same baton?
Right.
Will you be wiping it? What extra measures will you be taking?
Well, definitely that was one of our concerns coming into the inter-primary school championship, hence the reason for the minimizing of the numbers. But in addition to that, we're going to have some COVID officers who are going to be on the field throughout the day, ensuring that the measures are kept in place. In addition to that, we're going to have 3 different stations where sanitization will happen as they enter into the car room, as the regular public enters into the venue, and as well as at the finish line area, where regular sanitization will be happening throughout the day.
Okay.
Now, Javon, relevant concerns as it pertains to COVID-19 and our kids. This entire pandemic, we have been trying to secure and make sure that our kids have been in the best position. And right now, truthfully, as the parents said, they are on shift system. But here we see the Ministry of Education alongside Sports Youth Officer, Mr. Freeman, ensuring and letting the parents know that they have done the proper protocols and putting proper things in place to make sure that the kids are safe on that day, proper protocols, proper procedures.
And I think it's important because, Kyla, again, one of the things I reiterate is the fact that I think sometimes we forget how this pandemic has impacted our kids,
Yes.
especially their mental health. And when you think about their social well-being and how our children are accustomed to socializing, something has essentially been ripped from them, and they may not be able to verbalize that like we can as adults, just to say how we're feeling about it. And personally, I think the Wellness Center was reporting on the fact, probably not the Wellness Center, one of the local mental health facilities reported on the fact that they have seen a 50% increase in child therapy, which really speaks to how our kids have been struggling throughout this pandemic. So I personally, and I'm sure lots of parents, are very happy to see us at least trying to move forward, especially for the sake of our kids' health. Now, as it relates to the COVID-19 protocols, as everything else, we are complying, of course, making sure that those protocols are in place and adhered to. But for the most part, people have been complying. And I think that's important for us to note, because in order for us to beat this thing and really get to the other side, we have to put into practice, beginning with our children, what we need to do going forward. So I think this is a good way for them to practice.
I definitely agree. I do
what they
think
need to
that
do.
Social activities are very important, but I do think that at least the parents reaching out to our newsroom, it seems that they are a bit frustrated that effort can be put into putting on a social event and making sure that COVID-19 protocols are in place, and parents are still at home struggling with students who are online. So we see both sides of the spectrum, and we continue to hope and pray for our children here in the BVI, because it's definitely not an easy circumstance.
And Kyla, it is a valuable concern. It is a valid concern. We've even heard the comparison between children still remaining on a shift school system while clubs are still able to open, while strip clubs are allowed to open, while parties are permitted. So we have to take these things into consideration, because like you said, there are many parents who are in a really tight position, still having to choose between homeschooling their child or going to work. And, you shouldn't be placed in those positions necessarily. So we're hoping that the Ministry of Education really is taking stock of all of these elements, and hopefully permitting that we are all doing what we need to do, we can head back to a sense of normalcy within the school system.
Most definitely. Now, viewers, up next, we have the Caribbean Airlines. They saw a 73% drop in revenue for 2021 due to the pandemic, as well as the USVI Community. They mourn the family that died in the horrible helicopter crash earlier this week. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that fire like a rocket. Say the word, you know I'm ready to go. I don't just talk that talk, I'm talking. Yeah, I walk that walk, I'm walking. Yeah, I'm on it, but you already know. Tell your father, your mother, your sister, and your brother. Go and tell everyone you know. Get your uncle, your neighbor, your auntie, that's your favorite. 'Cause we know that this world's gonna blow.
Hey Johnson, what's up? Why you look like you about to pass out?
I think I am. But anyhow,
Cho, what you doing?
remember last year when I spoke to you over the phone? When I said, well. Anyhow, ever since that moment, I was wanting to take this step further with you.
OMG, Johnson!
I want to know if you, Via, would officially have me as your sales rep with a friend
What?
to get live with our February promotions.
Huh?
Get live, get love, and get gifted. Bring a friend to CCT to sign up for a Freedom Plan, take a picture with them in the store, and post to social media with the hashtag GetLiveCCT. Then put your receipt with your number in the golden basket and wait on a call from Jante. First place gets $500 each. Second place, matching Samsung Galaxy A30s. And third place, $150 shopping vouchers each to One-Mart.
So are you really saying
Really? And I could bring a friend too?
more the merrier?
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, as we pan across the region, Caribbean Airlines has announced that its unaudited financial results for the year to the end of December 2020, with the impact of the global pandemic resulting in an operating loss of, get this, $109.2 million, and that is as it relates to earnings before interest and taxes, on revenue $118.6 million. Now, viewers, this is a stark comparison to 2019, which saw a positive EBIT of $11.2 million on revenue of $440 million for the 12-month period. Now, operating expenses for 2020 were $228 million, which was 47% lower than 2019 due to fewer flights and strict control protocols. Now, Garvin Madera, the CEO of Caribbean Airlines, said, and I quote, "The first 2 months of 2020 continued our upward trajectory of the previous 3 years, and the next phase of our strategic plan was commencing strongly. However, COVID-19 has taken a sledgehammer to international travel and tourism for the past 10 months, and our financial results for last year fully reflect this new reality." End of quote. He also added, and I quote, "Nonetheless, in spite of the pandemic and reducing flying, we managed to add new destinations to our network and expanded our cargo offerings to include charter services as well. We also provided support through repatriation flights for a number of Caribbean nations and resumed operations in some destinations outside of Trinidad and Tobago where borders are open." End of quote. Now, viewers, at times during 2020, passenger flights were sometimes 90% lower than the same period for the previous year as a result of international border closures from March 2020 onwards. Now, passenger numbers for 2020 fell substantially by at least 71% to a mere $704,678, of which, traveled on the domestic air bridge between Trinidad and Tobago, in comparison to 2019, when the airline carried over 2.5 million persons. Now, Mr. S. Ronnie Mohammed, Caribbean Airlines chairman, stated, and I quote, "2020 was the worst year on record for the global travel industry and specifically for aviation. Regrettably, the Caribbean Airlines was hit hard. From a promising period of progress and profitability, we were severely negatively impacted. However, the board of directors and management remain committed to the sustainability of Caribbean Airlines in 2020 and beyond." Kyla, we see some of our regional brands really coming full speed and just coming forward with the information and being very candid about the financial realities and the fallout that happened as a result of COVID-19. We do know Caribbean Airlines to be definitely one of the brands that serves the region as it relates to interconnecting flights. Even us here at the BVI, we've been able to benefit from their extended services. But I'm happy to see the CEO really expanding on the fact that even in the midst of adversity, they were really able to stretch themselves and extend further. And I think that is what, like you mentioned, I think just yesterday, the businesses who are able to adapt and strategize and repurpose, those are the businesses that will be able to come out on top. So we do know that other airlines like Liat had significant issues.
Of course.
And so even in the midst of all this craziness, we're happy to see Caribbean Airlines still afloat and trying their best to be as sustainable, at least for the people of the region.
Most definitely. Now, as we reported yesterday, a devastating crash over in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The St. Thomas Reformed Church has revealed the identities of the family of 3 who died during a helicopter crash at Bounty Bay in St. Thomas Monday afternoon. The church, which also said the family were members of its congregation, revealed that the family to be Daniel Yune and Naisha Zane and their son Tyler Yune, who was a senior at the Antilles School in St. Thomas. The church revealed the identities in a post on Facebook. They revealed the other person on the helicopter, which was the pilot, which we spoke about a little bit, Javon, in our summary, as Maria Rodriguez. Now, country singer Kennedy Chesney, he posted a heartfelt tribute to the deceased Rodriguez on his Facebook page. They said, and I quote, "Tyler belonged to our church, to our XYG youth group. He and his parents, Danielle and Naisha, belonged and served this church and the community in countless and unselfish ways, friends to so many." This was released by the St. Thomas Reformed Church pastor, who was also identified as Jeff. He further said, and I quote, "On this eve of Ash Wednesday, where we remember our mortality, I ask you all to join our faith community in prayer for Danielle, Naisha, Tyler, and Maria, which was the beloved pilot who many called friends." Now, the family originally was from Youngstown, Ohio, was the proprietor of Beep Business, a St. Thomas custom brokerage business over in St. Thomas, of course. Now, Rodriguez was an experienced pilot who owned Caribbean Buzz helicopters. In 2018, Rodriguez earned Pilot of the Year award from the Helicopter Association International for her work in hurricane relief efforts following Irma and Maria in 2017. After Irma, Rodriguez flew countless support and relief missions, doing the same after Maria, according to HAI, now once for 28 days straight. Rodriguez was well known on St. Thomas, and because of her work, came into contact with several high-profile individuals. She once flew the Obamas, and the country singer Kennedy Chesney counts her as a close friend. Now, media over in St. Thomas reported that on Monday night that 4 people had succumbed to the injuries in the crash, which was confirmed today by the governor's House Communications Director, Richard Mota, during the administration's COVID-19 response update. But Javon, a very, very sad story from beginning to end. And as just the community speak about these individuals, really putting a name to the victims of this helicopter crash, it is just so devastating.
It is, and we see persons, especially a lot of the young people, the young boy belonged to the Antilles school. Our boss's children attends that school and was able to relate to us that the children at that school are devastated. And again, just bringing back really sad memories. When things like this happen, especially being that it's so tragic, the first thing we want to figure out is what happened. And based on what the police department has said in the U.S. Virgin Islands, at this point, there's still so much to uncover. So the investigations are continuing. And then, of course, when they were discovered on the scene that night, it began to get dark right after. So there's not a lot that could have been done. But I know the public especially is really looking forward to what circumstances led to this tragedy, because it's definitely, I mean, for us here in the BVI, it's certainly something hard for us to digest.
Imagine
She was
over in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Absolutely. And so it's really unfortunate. And the most we can do at this point is really extend our hearts, our sympathies, and our condolences, our prayers really to the extended family of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and just really pray that they could find some level of comfort, especially coming out of the investigations.
Most definitely. But before we close out, because we're about to close out, over in Texas, now lots is going on over there. Now a winter storm in the U.S. has brought deadly freezing winds, ice, and snow to many regions that rarely see that type of conditions. Now in Texas, a surge in demand for electricity has led to a widespread power outage, and the state is bracing for another icy storm later this week. But Javon, it really is a devastating story. It is freezing cold. Persons are dying from hypothermia. It is really a tragic time over in Texas, so we definitely want to pray for them over there in the United States.
Absolutely. And of course, the details of that story, you can catch all of that, the extra details on 284media.com. So many persons have lost their lives already. I think the count is at 21, so be sure to check that out. But for now, that's all the time we have. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes. Have a great evening, everyone.